Anyway, this is a banger clip. So here we have a segment of a program. I believe this is the Bad Faith podcast with Briahna Joy Gray in Virgil, Texas. And this is a clip from the Wasting Times. So I don't know. Is this Virgil, Texas? I'm not sure. I think this is Briahna Joy Gray. I guess this must be Virgil, Texas, of the Gray Zone, I suppose. Anyway, let's watch this clip. And again, Briahna Joy Gray, former press secretary for Bernie Sanders. Let's watch.
Well, we saw the weakness of Bernie and his potential, and Bernie was a living example of the importance of leadership, and he was weak. He was so weak that he allowed Biden to red bait him and defeat him. Joe Biden, Abe Simpson, he allowed to beat him in the last debate. He didn't have the killer instinct. He didn't want to defeat Hillary. He didn't go after her like he should have on Libya. That's what he should have gone after her on.
So I just want to keep in mind that Virgil, Texas of the Gray Zone is talking to Briahna Joy Gray, who was at the time basically the spokesperson of the Bernie Sanders campaign. Briahna Joy Gray, again, led the great charge after Nevada and before Super Tuesday to just suck up all the media time that she could talking about Cuba. So I'm just saying, as far as responsibility, right, for Bernie Sanders' failing campaign in 2020, and again, I have a lot of criticisms of Bernie Sanders' 2016 and 2020 runs, but I mean, you're talking to the press secretary. You're talking, again, Virgil, Texas of the Gray Zone is talking to the press secretary of the campaign he's criticizing, one that was responsible, right, for a lot of these things that Virgil, Texas of the Gray Zone is talking about.
And, at the same time, he did show the potential. I don't know if anyone has the same cachet as him or the same history to mobilize that many young people.
It was a once-in-a-generation opportunity is what it felt like.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, as far as responsibility is concerned for this once-in-a-generation opportunity, again, the press secretary chose to talk about Cuba and communism on the week up to Super Tuesday, where a lot of Southern, moderate, quote-unquote, conservative Democratic primaries are. And I'm just saying, right, as far as messaging is concerned, I don't know, man. I'm just saying the press secretary has a lot to blame here. Again, this is the Bad Faith podcast with Briahna Joy Gray in Virgil, Texas. So I don't know why Virgil, Texas is, talking to the press secretary like this and pretending that she didn't have a role in the 2020 Bernie campaign. Now, again, I also just, obviously the Bernie 2020 campaign and the 2016 campaign had problems, and we need to really realize and analyze what those problems are. And I wish Bernie Sanders would hold more rallies and events and stuff. But also, at the same time, I don't know, there's kind of a COVID crisis, right? I think it's a little irresponsible for people to, advocate for mass rallies during this crisis. But at the same time, Bernie Sanders could organize these mass rallies and provide PPE to people. Or, he could use his clout to do better things. I agree. He could. Right? But also, so can anyone else. I don't know. I met a lot of people in the Bernie campaign, and some of them stayed in activist roles. Others did not. So, I don't know. I think that there's also a problem with people in this country, their abilities, their free time to do this kind of stuff. The way, there's no networks of actually supplying resources to people to do this stuff. Most people do this on a volunteer basis. They work 2 jobs, volunteering and activism, and whatever their main job is, right? So again, I think we need to orchestrate a better activist kind of, I think activism, left-wing activism, obviously, needs to have some more money back behind it, fundraising. I think anyone that donated to Bernie's campaign, there should be an apparatus to do that, but just for activism nationwide. But also, you know, a lot of people just are not in a position where they can, you know, do things that would actually make change in society, right? So, you know, the idea of backing an electoral campaign and having a politician, you know, do the rest, that is a lot more, you know, feasible for most people, because most people are not in a position where they can just quit their jobs and revolt or whatever. But again, the press secretary, in my opinion, now again, if we're going to be blaming Bernie, yes, like the Bernie 2020 campaign and 2016 campaign, 2020, right, again, Bernie made a lot of mistakes. But I think a lot of the mistakes that the campaign made were at the behest of those that worked on the campaign, those that were in Bernie's ear. And again, Briahna Joy Gray was one of the most prominent people. So, prominent people, I mean to say, I didn't finish my sentence. Prominent people involved in the Bernie 2020 campaign. So you'd think Virgil Texas from the Gray Zone would realize that and acknowledge that. And also, I love how Briahna Joy Gray has she ever, like, taken any accountability at all? Like, because I know that she just turned into this, like, anti-left douchebag weirdo. But has she ever, like, said, yeah, maybe I didn't do the best thing throughout the primary? Maybe, you know, focusing on Castro for a week before Super Tuesday wasn't the best strategy. You know, I'm just saying, like, has she ever acknowledged any of those things? I don't know, maybe, and I'd like to see that. But also, the idea of having this Gray Zone fool on, this Putin apologist Virgil Texas from the Gray Zone. I heard someone said that Virgil Texas was involved in, like, some child predator scandal. I'm not sure if, I don't know, like, if this is the Virgil Texas that was doing that or whatever. All I know is that, according to the watermark, this is bad faith with Briahna Joy Gray and Virgil Texas, and there's two people. This is presumably Briahna Joy Gray, and this is, I mean, there's only one, it's process of elimination, right? So, but anyway, really embarrassing to see where Briahna Joy Gray has fallen to. I mean, it's just sad. It's sad. Like, if you would have told me, like, I met Briahna Joy Gray at Bernie events. If you would have told me that, like, this person was, like, a saboteur, I wouldn't have believed it. I would have said no. But now, if you tell me that she was a saboteur, I'm willing to have that conversation. I think it's more likely that she's just really fucking bad at her job. I think it's more likely that she's really horrible at her job than her being a purposeful saboteur. But, I mean, I'm willing, like, if someone wants to provide to me some sort of argument that she was an agent to destroy the campaign from the inside, I'm willing to listen to it, because honestly, I mean, seeing what she's done since the 2020 campaign, there's not a lot of faith to have in Briahna Joy Gray as someone that has any intelligence. I mean, she could just be an actor. She could just be pretending, you know, but I hope for her sake that she's pretending. I hope this is all just a gig for her, because if not, little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, I have to say. But anyway, just talking about that.